Okay, this is the story of Vinzenzina Pitania.
Tell us about what life was like when you were a little girl in the old country.
Well, it was hard, because my mother was sick almost his life. And I was raised by my grandfather and grandmother. And they was working people. My grandfather was a fisherman. He worked at night, sleep in the day. And my grandmother was working like a bakery to make bread in the oven. And my mother,
So she worked at night too then?
she worked with her mother. So when I was 13 years old, when I was a little girl, I was okay, you play with the kids. You don't know much, but my father was in the United States, so he was alone over there.
Where was your father?
In St. Louis, Missouri.
Why did he go over there?
Well, he came here to find a job, find work. He was a navigator with the ship.
Okay.
So he came in the ship and disembarked here in America, and he stayed here.
What year did he come over, do you know?
He come over here when he was born.
When he was
He
born?
just left with me, with my mother, inside, and he came here. So, and he stayed here, but I don't know, about 3 or 4 years. When he come back, I was born, and then my brother, my mother started with my brother, and my father came back in the United States, and he stayed here. He never come back.
So he must have navigated like ships up and down the Mississippi
Yeah, he
River.
was fire, they put the coal in the ship.
What,
So and then,
let's not worry about going over on the ship. Let's talk about, we need to tell the camera what city you lived in, and as much as you remember when you were a little girl.
we live in Augusta, provincia Siragusa, Italy. Augusta. It was a little town. It's a little town. But it's beautiful though. I like it. I went to school, and when I was in the 3rd grade, I stopped schooling
Why?
because I had the help of my mother. When my brother was a bit, and then I had my brother. See, my brother was 3 years younger than I.
Was that normal? Did most girls quit that early?
Yeah, we don't go too often too much to school over there. When you're in the 4th grade, you're lucky. Some who they're rich, they go, but we had to stop. And when my mother died, my brother had to stop too to school, and he started working when he was 12 years old.
So a boy would be apt to go to school longer than a girl.
Yeah, but he didn't. So, and then my mother died one Sunday morning. We was working in the oven for the bread, and my mother, she didn't feel it too good because she had heart trouble. And she was, slender, not too good at health. Because she never took care of herself. So one morning, on Sunday morning, the 4th of July, July the 4th, I never forget, my grandmother said, "Fix something for your mother," and let her, give her lunch. So I got the lunch in my hand. I go to bed to wake her up, and she was dead. I found her dead. It was a Sunday at noon, and everybody, all of the town come there.
What year was that?
1920.
And how old were you?
I was 13. I was going to be 14 in 7th of October. So, when
How old
she died,
was your mother?
she was 33 years old when she died. So my father wanted us to go over there, He wanted to, we sent our money, but we never could. So at the end, when my mother died, they got the money and they put them in the post office at that time, and we had in our bank. to the post office because we was minor. We couldn't touch the money. My grandfather was Kennedy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed there
With your grandparents?
with my grandparents. We changed the house. We moved from the house when my mother died because I couldn't stay there. I was scared. So my father and my grandfather, grandmother, they bought a little house. And we stayed, me and my brother, and both of them, we stayed in this little house.
What was your brother's name?
Rafael. Raphael?
Okay.
Raphael. That's the name is Sole. S-O-L-E.
Okay.
Maiden name. So then I grew up. I started going to school to teach me, not school to learn, to teach. And I was sewing in a sewing machine. When I started to do the work in a sewing machine, I went to school with somebody, you know, learn, teach it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was engaged 2 times before I married my husband. You know,
Before she
were.
came over here, she was engaged 2 times?
15? I didn't know that.
I was engaged 2
My
times.
goodness.
Well, tell us about those guys.
Well, you know, one he was alright. The guy was okay. His mother was a little hard-headed, you know. She was on the cell, you know. And my grandmother, she didn't like that. He thinking that maybe the son was going to be crazy like her.
Mm-hmm.
So we broke up. So one day, my sister-in-law, my husband's sister, she came to the house and she told me that she had a brother in another state and he wanted to get married and it was going to be good to me, for me.
What was her name?
Sebastiano,
No, what's her name?
Victoria. Vicky,
Okay.
Victoria. So, and he was going to send me the money to come in the United States. So that's what we did. And I was the last passenger. And they let it go because then they put a visa, you know. Maybe. So in 1922, I got the boat.
And you were how old?
I was 15.
And so you actually became
I
engaged
was-
to somebody that you didn't even know?
No. I saw in the picture. Saw the picture, you know.
What?
And my grandmother said, well, they are a good family. We know her sister. So he must, you know, be a good guy, whatever.
Was... So you broke up with somebody because your family didn't like them?
Yeah, before.
And now you were gonna marry somebody because...
Because my grandma was always, well, it was going to be okay.
Weren't you scared?
Well, you're young, you know. I was scared. I just was for the adventure to come here and see what's what.
Uh-huh. You were very poor.
Yeah. I only had a true dress, so one for the day, one for Sunday. And when you wash it with the one, you wear the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Because my father he never take care of us. My father never sent
Mm-hmm.
any money, anything. And my brother was working, you know, a little boy, what he paid to get. My grandfather, but then he quit working because he was old.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother. I got the picture of Annie.
So how old were they when you came to the United States then, do you think?
My grandfather?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was about 70.
Okay,
That's
so that
old,
was very old.
Yeah.
Huh?
70, no, more than 70.
Do you remember the name of the ship?
My father.
Do you remember the name of the ship that you sailed over on?
Oh, me? Oh, yeah, the Conde Rosso. Conde Rosso.
Okay. Tell us about the trip.
It was a new boat, a new ship, beautiful ship. It was the first trip. Then I got some stitches in my head, you know, when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
I had a boil. And when I was in the ship, they put so much thing in my head that it broke. And I had to go to the hospital when I was on the ship.
Did you have like your own room, or were you like?
Yeah, we had a room. And I came here with a friend, my husband's friend, that he came to Italy to get married,
Oh,
see, with his wife, me and him.
and his wife.
So we had a nice trip, you know. I liked the trip because I like the water, and I was afraid, you know. It was-
Why did your boil break open? Because you
Yeah.
put what on your hair?
because they was putting the things for the lice.
Lice?
You gotta be careful, you know. And I had a braid, a long braid. I never had a bob, you know.
So
your hair-
everybody on the ship got the medication for lice.
Oh yeah, they was watching. They was watching everybody. You know.
How long did it take you to come over? Do you know?
9 days in the ship. It was a nice trip. Didn't get no trouble, just a little fog at the end.
Where did you leave from?
So, from Palermo.
Okay. And you sailed to
And
New
we,
York?
we sailed to New York. We see the Statue of Liberty. And see, I came here with my husband, was my fiancé, citizen paper.
Mm-hmm.
He sent it to me. But in a Canada, and we're supposed to get married over there. But in a Canada, I was minor. They won't give it to him. I needed my father.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband, he couldn't get me, and they put me on, ¿cómo se llama?
Elsa.
Yeah. I stayed 3 days over there,
Elsa.
Waiting for?
waiting for my father. They telegraphed for my father to come and get me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my father come, you know, in 3 days he's supposed to be there. He was there. And when they asked me if I know my father, I never knew my father. I saw in the picture when I was little. I never seen in person. So I was keeping to say, I don't know. Non lo saccio. It means I don't know. And then it dawned on me, you know, I was I was young, but I was, you know, not smart, but, you know, football, como se dice. No. So I said to myself, if I tell me once more, they're going to send me back. I don't want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So they give me to my father. He come and get me.
All the way from St. Louis.
Hmm. And we went,
Was he well dressed? Was it obviously?
well, he was pretty good. I mean, with the suit. And like I say, I never saw him before.
Okay.
If he, how he was dressed, and he was okay with me. So we went to some friends, some relation, when we disembarked from the ship, and we get out from there, and when. So my father, in one, I married him.
Didn't want?
He didn't want you to
No.
marry him.
He wanted me to go with him.
Mhm.
Because, see, they knew each other. My father and my husband, they knew each other in St. Louis. Then my husband, he moved here in Michigan.
Mhm.
And that's, and so, but my father said, you're too young to get married. You come with me, you stay with me a little bit, you know, and then if you still want him, but people said, no, he said, you came with his money and you gotta marry him. Like the other friends, see, they was, so we got married. We went to the Justice of Peace, and we got married in the church
In New York.
in New York, in Brooklyn, I think it was, Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And so to marry in church, you needed 3 days at least to come, you know. And my father didn't want to wait. He said, if I were here 3 days, I'll lose my job. We gotta go now. We gotta, okay. We go now. And we come on it all. And was married with them,
Mm-hmm.
really, you know, with the church and everything. So when I come on it all, my father wanted to go back. He went to St. Louis, and I stay here in Monroe.
But you got married in Brooklyn. In
But
Brooklyn, New
then
York.
he didn't count that I was married there because it was another state. I
Okay.
had to get married again here.
So you got married 3 times then.
Yeah, 4 times in church.
4 times?
You got the Justice of the Peace.
They just the peace here in the court, you know.
Oh, here too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, so two Justices of the Peace, one in New York
Yeah,
and
one.
one in Michigan,
Mhm.
and 2 churches.
One church and the other one we get married because we had to wait 3 days.
Okay.
In one week. We got married, so married. But when we got married in the courthouse, my father went. He didn't give me no consent to get married or nothing. He just to leave me there. With my friends, there was you know, a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of my friend, the guy that, you know, they was working together, his name was Dominic Janino. He made him like a father to me. He signed his name until I was 21, 18, whatever. He was you know, like my father. If my husband won't treat me good,
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to. But, and then, you know, in I think it was 10 days, we got married as a married church
In Monroe.
in Manila.
What was the date?
We got married the 18th, was 18? July
2nd.
22nd,
In 1922?
22. Mm-hmm.
How did your father get from St. Louis to New York
What about? I went to the train.
with the train?
Yeah, the train.
That's how your husband got from Monroe to New York? then?
Yeah, with the train. So we got married here, as a married. And my father never gave me the consent.
Mhm.
My father, he forget me. He said, you don't want to come with me? No, father.
Who is your best man and maid of honor?
Joe Solomon and Rose Solomon. He was my best man and maid of honor.
Did you like your husband when you first met him?
Yeah, I like him.
That's
He was a
the
little
name, that's
older,
the
though,
name.
you know.
He was old.
Yeah,
Solomon Stone.
we was 11 years apart. But I like him.
Did he treat you good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he treated me really good. Really good man.
So what did he do for a living in Monroe then?
He was working for Consolidate.
Okay, at the packaging
Mhm.
plant there?
Yeah, he was a finish. He packed the box in a bundle.
Okay, so then where did you live?
I live in a Winchester house. A 211 at Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
It was an old house. Then they demolished it, they took it out. And then my husband he was a fisherman. He quit in the summer, in the spring, like he quit to Consolidate and he go fisherman. He gave me, you know, they gave him time of 3 months. So when I had my first child, he was fishing.
Mm-hmm.
It was Saturday night, and he was fishing. So they went and get him. my baby, I was born
Uh-huh.
in Joe. And he came and did.
How soon after you got married did that happen?
10 months after that, I got a job.
Well, that was your 3rd engagement too.
Yeah.
When did you,
Tell us about the
So-
birth. Tell us about his birth.
When my baby was born,
Your oldest boy.
yeah, I had a hard time, like I said, he was breached.
Okay.
They took it out, you know, from the feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I got 3 stitches. And
And you were alone.
I was 15, yeah.
You were 15.
And so my husband had to go fishing. He couldn't stay with me. The Saturday night, he went fishing. And Sunday morning, I was alone. We had a couple, you know, my best man and me, Joanna, they lived with us. But, you know, they didn't have no kids, and they went to the show, and I was in bed with my baby.
So you were
So-
really all alone then?
Yeah. My neighbor come over, Mrs. Barbarella, and she said, poor girl. She said, they leave you all alone? I said, yeah. So she brought me some soup. And she gave it to me. Well, in 3 days I get up from the bed and start washing diaper and washable. So but we managed, and my baby was okay. He was 9 pounds when he was born. He was a big baby. I was so huge, nobody knew what I. In those days, they didn't have no maternity dress. You had to wear a bigger dress, a longer dress. I was looking like an old lady, 15 years old. I wish they had some pictures at the time, to take picture.
Was there a doctor there when Joe
Yeah,
was born?
Yeah,
You had a
oh yeah,
doctor?
2 doctors.
Gee.
He needed help because it was pretty bad. And so after the 2 years, I had another one. Then they demolished the house and we had to move.
But you had your second one, what was his name?
Agostino, Augie,
Was that at home too?
yeah. But he was in another place. Because if he had to move from the whole house, they was taken out.
Okay, where did you move to?
Across the street of Winchester, say. But it was an apartment upstairs.
Okay.
And he had to climb all the upstairs, how big it was with the baby. He was only 2 years old, Joe, when I had the other one. And I had him at home again. It was 9.5 a pound. It was bigger. But everything was okay.
That was normal
It was
birth.
normal. So, after that, my husband, he found out that I had some lots to sell. And 9th Street,
Mm-hmm.
by the quarry there. He was, and they had lots to sell, so he bought a lot. And in 2 years, we moved in an old house.
Mm-hmm.
We built a house. He helped the carpenter to build a house. And I lived there a long time. Well, unplugged.
So he bought a lot. He must have been doing fairly well then as a,
Yeah, he was doing pretty good.
he was a worker then.
Well, they went fishing for 3 seasons,
Mhm.
but then they didn't was making enough money.
Okay, what kind of fish did they catch?
Catfish.
Do they fish off the shore or in a boat?
No. Well, they had 2 boats. One to put the fish and one to sell and to go.
Oh.
And there was four guys together. And they sleep there. They had a hunt someplace of the river racing.
So who did they sell their catfish to?
The company. They used to sell to the company and they ship it to New York.
And it was a catfish company that,
Mhm. So then in one time it was too warm and they found all of the fish dead
Mhm.
on the pond. All of the work that they did and they lost a lot of money there.
Mhm.
So he quit. And they said, no more, I keep it with consolidate.
so you built your new house.
We built a new house. I had 2 kids, 2
Mhm.
little boys. And
Were you excited?
oh yeah, we have a new house. And it was just a specular house, like the house now.
Mhm. Just a little house?
My husband said, how are we gonna do this house? So somebody told me, said, well, you do a square, you do like this and like this, and you got the room and you got the kitchen, the living room. That's how it was.
And that's how you built it.
Instead it was 5 and 5. Instead, the living room, the dining room with the kitchen, and the 3 bedrooms. I had 3 bedrooms. So we managed it really good.
So when did you build that, about 1925 or something?
19, yeah. 1920, 24, no, 25. Augie, he was a little boy, a little baby, when we moved. After the 2 years, 25. 1925.
Okay, when was your third child born then?
My 3rd child was born, before Dominic then, in a new house.
In the new house, at home.
And he was the little boy that I ever hear, I ever see. He was 5 pounds. From a 2 big one Then I had one that was 5 pounds.
And that was dangerous in those days to be that little, probably.
Yeah, because you know when I started labor, the doctor told my husband, he said, you go and buy a steak, cook it, and let it heat and let it sleep and rest. So I had to do that, and then when I wake up, my labor started again, and I had to begin. I had 5 at home.
You had what?
5 home.
5 of them at
6,
home?
no, 6, 7
You had
home.
up to, who did?
7 kids I had at home.
Wow.
Just the 2 of those girls I had at the hospital, the latest one. 7
She had 9.
and
But
9.
then what happened to Augustina?
Well, it was a nice baby, you know, it was a big old baby. But he was weak, like, you know, soft. And one day I put him on the floor, that I had the help of my friends that she had a baby. And this baby, you know, he fell and hit his head. And since then he started convulsion. Night and day. We took him all over, they couldn't find nothing. We took him in Detroit, we took him all doctor. And we took him in Detroit and he died in Detroit. He was,
How old was he?
he was like a little over a year old.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a beautiful baby. So, that was my second one. The third one, he was little, he was Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had a girl.
And who was that?
I had him in the house again, the house.
And what was her name?
No, Domenica, Mamie.
Okay.
That's the one that she died.
In childbirth, or?
No, she was 10 years old when she died.
Okay. And how did she die?
The appendicite broke, appendicite broke
Mm-hmm.
because the peritonizer.
Mm-hmm.
One Sunday we took him to the hospital, and the next Sunday she was dead.
In the hospital or at home?
She died in the hospital. Monroe Hospital here. The whole Monroe.
Was that quite common that families lost children? Or was
No.
that?
No, not exactly. But I don't know. The doctor, they didn't recognize the sickness, what she had.
Mm-hmm.
And when they find out, it was too late. You know, it was all, it was taken out all the black thing and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So she died. She was a little girl. She was a cute little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Made her first communion.
Oh.
When she was burying the kids to dress on veil, they brought her here to the cemetery.
That must have been really hard on you.
Yeah. And my Charlie, the fifth of the boy, he was young.
Mm-hmm.
He was only like a year, 18 months old when she died. I had him already.
Was Charlie a normal
Yeah.
birth at home?
Oh, yeah.
How much did he weigh, do you remember?
He weighed about a little over 8 pounds. But then, when I was, because I nursed them, all of my kids. I nursed them too,
Mhm.
and the bottle too, because I don't have much milk. And one time, this baby was crying all the time and was losing weight. I said, what's the matter with him? Found the doctor, he just looked at my milk, and it was no good. He didn't get nutrition, you know.
Who is that?
Charlie. Yeah, he wants to die. Starvation. I didn't know.
Who did you have after Dom?
I had Mamie.
Oh, and then after that,
Then I had a Hoggy. Oh, the other one, the other boy.
He was born at home?
Yeah? Oh yeah, I was born in 96 too. He was the 51. Hoggy, the 50.
Okay, and how big, was he a good size or?
Yeah, pretty good size. But I had a hard time with my hemorrhoid at that time.
Imagine.
Yeah. So I had a hard time at the time. But it was okay.
Was your husband there for these births or?
Yeah, Oh, yeah, he was home.
And was there a doctor or a midwife?
No, all doctor and doctors, doctor, I just remember the name of the doctor.
Okay, then
Fine.
who was the sixth one then?
Well, the sixth was, no,
Names.
Mamie and Charlie.
Sister B.
No, yeah, Sister Peter. Josephine.
Josephine.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what year was she born?
She's 55.
She's 55 and it's 1992. So she was born in what? 37?
55.
At home?
Yeah, at home.
Could you tell us something about her birth?
Yeah, he was good baby. He baptized her. My cousin baptized her. Still in the house, you know.
Your cousin was a priest?
No.
No, she means
No,
she
it's-
stood up as godparent.
The
Oh,
godparent.
oh, I'm sorry.
Mhm. And yeah, she was pretty good. All of my, they wasn't much sick neither. But they had the measles, they had the chicken pox, they had everything, they had mamas. When Charlie and Alcatin, two, they had mamas. And Joe was bigger. Joe was going in high school. So he said, I'm not gonna sleep in the house. So when some friends, when the States, Compadre
I
So
got
I-
them then too. I got the most too.
you don't catch any mamas. They had the scarlet fever too. Sister B had a scarlet.
That was a long disease then, wasn't it? You were sick
Yeah, I
for
had a
how-
quarantine.
Mhm.
He was quarantined.
For how long, do you remember?
Well, not I was quarantined for a little while. My husband would go, of course he had to come. He had to feed, bring the food,
Uh-huh.
and he had to go work too. But-
So it was just you and the baby then, or you and the one that
And
was
the
sick?
kids, yeah, all of them inside.
Oh.
All of them. Couldn't go outside.
Now, did Pa stay in the house when there was quarantine, or?
No, he had to go work.
He had to go work.
Yeah, he had to go work and he had to go to the store to buy it.
So he stayed, he didn't, well, where did he sleep at night though?
He still lived in the house
Oh,
too.
did he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So then who was born next, after sister?
Charlie. Charlie's younger. The one I was almost lost to starving. My milk
Okay.
wasn't so good. So,
So when you put him on
milk and bottle
mhm,
and start feeding. And then that's okay.
mhm.
He's here.
And then who was after Charlie?
Well, after the Charlie, one time I didn't feel it too good. So I went to the doctor. And the doctor told me that I had a tumor. And I said, what is this tumor? What is? He said, well, they dig a little hole and they take it out. But you go home, you take care of your kids, you work and you forget about it.
Mhm.
So after the 4 years, I got a pregnancy of her. After 4 years. When she was born, the hospital then they took him to the hospital. The doctor told me, oh honey, you got a tumor. I said, well, that's enough, 2 times.
Tell them how I got my name.
Oh, when she was born, my husband was there and everything finished, no labor no more. So my husband went home. As soon as he went home, my labor started again and I was alone. I said, God, I said, help me. And then, the Mother Mary Mother, St. Anne. So I talked to her, I said, if you will give me a little girl and everything is okay, I'll put her name. That's why I called Anne.
She was named after Saint
And
Anne.
then, after the doctor was there, they had waited the baby, they closed my leg, so I'm gonna have the baby. I had a little time there. And then she was born.
In my middle name.
Well, her name is supposed to be Mamie. Domenica,
Mhm.
because my mother-in-law was Domenica. So we had to put in the name of the father and the mother,
Mhm.
mother-in-law. So then I said, how are we gonna call him? And May. We put Anna May.
Well, it was Mamie.
Mamie, Anna May. Anna Mamie. But it was too long and we shorted
Somebody
it.
shortened it to Anna
And
Mae.
we put Anna May. And we call her Anna May. But we never called Anna May when she was little. She was my darling.
She was your what?
My darling. Darling.
Oh,
I called her darling until she wasn't a little older.
tell us about this tumor thing again.
So when I had her, the doctor told me again, whilst I was asleep, you know. Well, I forget about it again. So after the 4 years, I got pregnant again. See, because I had every 2 years, and then every two I had every 15 months apart. Two set. It was 4 years. So I had a Vicky. With the still of the tumor that I had a Vicky.
And who's she named after?
Well, Vicky, I said, what are we gonna name this little girl? Charlie, his name is Sebastian, like his father. No, we was called him Charlie. I said, well, I told him my husband, I said, you got a sister, Vicky, and I got a sister, Vicky. I said, let her call her Vicky. So when I rode to Italy, and I told my sister-in-law, my husband and sister, that I call him Vicky, my little girl, she said, no, she said, you call her Vicky for victory, because in the United States there was victory. They won the war at that time.
So you still had this tumor?
Yeah. So after the 2 years, then, you know, I was getting pretty bad, my period and everything. So I went to the doctor. He visited me and he said, how many kids you got? I said, 7. Say, you want to take care of them? Go to the hospital. So I had my tumor removed.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 days I was home.
How old
3 days.
How old were you then?
How old I was? 42.
And you had Vicky at 40?
Mm-hmm. I was 42 years old. Vicky was 2 years. I said, well, Vicky, you know, she's big enough to do. You have to take care of her. I was home because I couldn't eat at the hospital. I was thinking of my family, my kids. So the doctor came and said, you want to go home? I was so happy. I said, yeah, I was home. So I went home. My husband was working. My son come and get me because he was working afternoon. And when he went to the store, you know, before he come home, he go to the store, he buy, you know, the grocery, whatever they need. We call him the grocery man. He said, when my husband come there, tell to buy me a steak or something because I'm home. So he come home.
You had a rest?
Huh?
You arrested him? You had a rest?
Oh, on the rest?
Are you tired?
It's in a little while.
Did the depression in 1929 and 30,
Oh, yeah.
did that affect your family?
No. We used to eat like the same because my husband had a good job and all the time he was working. He worked a double shift.
Mm-hmm.
He worked after the shift, whatever, but he brought the check. We pay the house.
Mm-hmm.
Every 6 months we pay the house at a time. Not every month.
Do you remember what the house cost you originally? How much money you had to borrow?
Yeah, $2,300.
$2,300. And so what was your payment every 6 months?
We pay $500 every month, every 6 months.
Okay.
We pay more all the time. And I had the money in my drawer all the time, and that's why I'm used to get the money. I gotta have a couple of $100 in my drawer.
That was a lot of money then.
Yeah. Yeah, we pay really good. I mean,
Did
we
any
pay our
of your
bills, pay our taxes.
Mhm. Did any of your children have to go off to war?
Yeah, my Joe,
Tell us about that.
yeah, he was he was in the Navy. And he was
What war?
the Second World War.
Where was he stationed?
He was stationed in California, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the first ship, and they went to Okinawa. It was the first battle. And he was a young man. He didn't fight it
Mm-hmm.
because he was, he was smart, Joe.
He stayed in the ship, but
Yeah, he stayed in the ship. He was like a secretary young man. And that's it. And one day we was seeing the paper that they come back with the ship. I didn't know nothing about it.
mm-hmm.
And he was saved. And thank God he come home.
I bet you prayed for him every day, didn't you?
Crying and praying.
Cried and prayed.
Yeah.
Oh, Dominic was in service.
Well, Dominic, he went after the war.
Oh,
He didn't want no war. He wanted to go in the Navy, but he's colorblind,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't take it at that time. They had to be perfect. So he went in the army, and he was in Japan, Okinawa, whatever.
Your faith, the church played a really important part all your life.
Yeah. But for a long time I didn't go to church because I had my kids. They was all small, and nobody didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay home. I don't know how many years. But then we started when the kids was everybody walking.
Mm-hmm.
We had no transportation. Walking from Eastern Line to St. Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning we didn't have no church. We had to go to Mary. That's where I was married. That's where
Mm-hmm.
my Joe was baptized. St. Mary. But then when they figured the factory, it was a cigar factory. Did you ever hear of
Mm-hmm.
St. Joseph? And then they made the school, and my kids went to school, St. Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then when they started fire, they had a burn. They burned the school at St. Joseph.
Okay.
They had on the side where the Blessed Mother is. That was a school. They had to go to Lincoln School.
To what school?
Lincoln.
Okay, right next door there.
Mhm. And it was okay. I mean, then the girls, they started a new school at St. Joseph. They built a new school.
Mm-hmm.
And then both of the girls, they went St. Joseph School from 1 grade to 12, some Mary Academy.
So back when all these kids were little, you didn't have a car or anything.
Well, my father, my husband, yeah, he bought a car. I don't know, one year, I don't remember the year. We had a true car, true old cars, like, But he managed, he learned to drive. And when, I think it was the second car, when she was born, I sent him to the truck store with the car, and he had an accident. Somebody hit him something, and it wasn't not too big, So he said, now I quit. I don't want to drive no more. He was a too good driving.
Uh-huh.
So then my son started to have the car. Said, now the kids are going to drive. And he quit. I never learned it.
And you never learned to drive, did you?
No, I never had a time to mug around like that. I never even tried to learn the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, he was driving a bicycle back and forth to the Consolidate from 96.
Okay.
you say Danny was burned?
No.
But you said, why did Pa go to the drugstore? When he had-
Oh, because I don't know, I needed a bottle or something to buy it. when she was a little baby. When she was born.
Well, something else, Augie was in the service.
Oh yeah, and then
Korean War.
then the Korea. Well, no, he volunteered. He was
Okay.
he was what do you call it? A garden,
He was an engineer.
He was,
You know, that built bridges.
He was an
yeah,
engineer.
when he went. But first he was, what do they call it? Well, he volunteered, and then they called him, yeah. He was in a.
So he was there when they were fighting.
Hmm. But he was lucky, because he invited. They built a bridge.
Okay.
They built a bridge, and then they exploded the bridge.
Mhm.
That's what he was doing. But thank God he come home too.
They built the bridge and then the Koreans
Yeah.
blew it up, is that what you mean?
Mhm.
So we get to build it again.
So he didn't see, I mean, he didn't fight it.
Do you remember some just some different little stories about the kids when they were little? Maybe something that was funny or just things that you remembered about what they did and stuff?
Well, I had a couple of that, they fell down with the
Horse bicycle?
yeah, no, the bicycle.
Tricycle.
Tricycle, the little one.
The three-wheel tricycle.
Not the tricycle. The one, the baby.
Scooter?
Those run a thing.
Walker?
Yeah, like a walker, they sit in it and they walk all over.
Oh, okay. When they're little
The
babies.
door was open and one fell down on the step, on the basement.
Oh, jeez.
Charlie.
Oh.
Yeah, boy.
Tell us about the frog. Isn't it the frog that somebody scared you with?
Oh, I don't like the frog, I don't care the mice. I catch the mice with my hands, and I was afraid. But the frog, they jump. I was scared. So my second one, Dominic, they go on the creek and they catch frog. I said, well, you catch it, you cook it, and you eat it. So one day, we was gonna have a dinner, and my son, he was really something. He was tortured. He was doing something,
He's ornery?
all the time. So my dish was upside down, when I sit in to eat. I opened the dish and it's jumped the frog.
Oh. What did you do?
Oh, I screamed. That's
Tell us a story about Annie.
Annie.
Some little story when she was little.
Well, she was a good baby. She had a little rocking chair. I put him there, and she didn't like to fly. But when we said to fly, they was run around. Shoot him, Annie. Shoot him, and she was shoot. Yeah, she shoot.
Oh, she didn't like the flies?
No. She was, I guess, she was clean baby,
Didn't like to be
long
dirty.
hair, blonde hair, and we call him who had the long hair, the movie star,
Veronica Lake.
Veronica Lake, because she had her hair all the time on her face, and the little chair that she was rocking all the time.
What did you can tell this, it's all right. What did you think about Jerry the first time that she brought Jerry home?
Well, we didn't like him. My son was against him.
Mm-hmm.
You remember?
Joe?
Joe, no, Dominic.
Oh, Dominic, oh, yeah.
One time he came, she brought him, he went out. He had nothing to do. But then, well, I said, if you like him, I don't know, I don't have to marry him, you gotta marry him, you gotta like it. Then we got used to.
He grew on him.
Well, Pa liked me.
Yeah, oh yeah, Pa liked you. He was a good boy.
Was he?
Yeah.
Did he treat you nice?
Oh yeah. No, all of them, my kids, nobody did something bad to me.
Uh-huh. So you raised a nice family?
First, I never look at my kids. Just a Dominic kid one time. Boy, he made me mad. I hit his head in the wall.
What did he do?
I don't remember what he did, but he made me really mad. No, he was against the kid, the big one.
Mm-hmm.
Joe was quiet. Joe was the quiet little boy that I had. And when we was eating at the table, everybody got silence so you could eat. But they investigated all the time, you know. And one time, you know, Joe had a nice tie. And Dominic, he needed a tie there. I don't know, he had a date or whatever. And Dominic took it and he wear it. And Joe, he noticed. I ran here for him. Nobody's supposed to touch his clothes. No.
So if you had all those kids in a 3-bedroom house, you put all the girls in one room and all the boys in another room, and
Yeah, the first room. The second one is the girl. And I had a 2 bed, a big bed and a single bed.
Mhm.
2 sleep on one bed and 1 sleep on one bed.
Who got the bed by themselves?
The oldest one was Sister Bea. They sleep alone. Vicky and Amy sleep together. In the other bedroom, I had a 2 bigger bed. 2 boys sleep in one bed and 2 boys sleep in another bed. And I didn't have no closet neither to put a clothes.
Mhm.
I had a little closet in the dining room,
In your
in
bed.
my bedroom. Our closet was behind the door, behind all. So finally, I got tired. And my husband too, we wanted to move the house. But we see some house and still not like it. Then the kids, and they find out and they start crying, they don't want to move. You know, kids are there, the neighbor and friends. So finally my husband said, well, you don't buy no house, we build a big kitchen. And my son, him and the carpenter, you know, we built a big kitchen. And a bedroom, my bedroom was downstairs.
Mhm.
We didn't have no tub, but then finally we put an old tub downstairs to take a bath. And we made a big kitchen,
Mhm.
a bedroom, and a closet.
Oh.
So the kids had a closet. Another closet in the diner's room, because we had the sink there. They took the sink and they made a closet.
Uh-huh.
Where was the kitchen before that?
The kitchen was downstairs. It's all we lived downstairs. We had a little kitchen upstairs, but we never used it.
Did you tell us the address of this house? I forgot what you said.
921 East 9.
Okay. Is that house still here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, still there.
A lot of nice memories in that house.
Mhm. Good memory, bad memory, sadness.
So if you were gonna tell your children something that you want them to remember forever, what would you tell them?
To remember his father, because he was a good man.
Mm-hmm.
To remember everybody, you know, my kids always, they was good. They never fight, I never heard anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
To respect his father's memory.
What did you do to have fun, like, you know, on weekends? and
The
stuff?
fun was that we was about 4 or 5 family all the same time. And we could get together every Saturday. They come over my house because I had more kids. And they had no car to travel. And we play cards. The man in one place, the kitchen, and the woman in another place. We play poker. They play briscoe.
You said what night?
Saturday.
What about Sunday? Would be-
Saturday was my night. Sunday, we take a turn. Every in the evening, you know, we will go in one house. We have our lunch, and we stay there, and we have fun, pretty fun.
So all those kids, the women would play poker.
Mm-hmm.
For
For
money?
penny that time, yeah. The men then we was playing together poker, but when we was getting too many, you know, sometimes we was 10 and 9 to play poker, and the last 2 they couldn't play because you know they're not enough. But then we split. So it's a we play, you know, a woman and you play the men.
So you both played
So-
poker.
I was raised here in the United States with the card in my hand.
Poker deck in one hand, the bingo card.
Gambling. The man,
Everybody on her
the
lap.
man, they was playing for a lot of money.
Yeah,
Oh. What did all these kids do while you guys were playing cards?
And live in his room, coloring, reading the books.
Did you have
They was there.
Did you have a radio then?
Yeah, we had a little radio. We had a bigger radio. So the night we sit there and crochet, doing something and listen to the radio. Once in a while we used to go to a movie, but not too much.
You used to get, when you go to the movies, you get to play, they give you plates.
Oh, yeah.
Saucers and cups.
Well, that's an afternoon movie.
Oh,
We used to go with Gracie. We get a set of dishes.
When did your husband die?
1972.
Can you tell us about that?
We never was sick, my husband. Never. Once in a while he had a little cold, something. Never go to the doctor. One time when he was building the house, he cut his hands. And so in one time, he was feeling sick, We went to Italy, we took a trip.
Mm-hmm.
When he was 50 years that he was from over there. He took a trip and we never liked it. He stayed 6 months in Italy, in Augusta, with my relation, my brother, my sister-in-law. 6 months. We left it alone. 2 girls at home, Annie and Vicky.
You left them alone at home?
Well, my son was in the back. He lived in the backyard.
How old were they?
Well, he was 18, no, 17. Because as soon as I come home, he said, "Mom, we're gonna get married. Me and Jerry are gonna get married." And you got married the 7 year,
Oh, then I must have been 20.
20. And Vicky, she was 16, no, 14, 20,
No, it should be 16.
16. So it was all enough. Like I said, my son was living in the backyard and in the back. Oh, we bought another house. After the one child that I had, we bought a lot. And then I had another child, and we bought another lot. And then I had another child, we built a garage and a house. Every time that I had a child, we bought something.
Tell us about the day that your husband died.
Well, he didn't feel good. Like I say, no, he was losing weight. Took him to the doctor. And he said, well, feed him a pork chop, but he still couldn't eat. Well, finally, we took him to the doctor in the hospital. Manila Hospital. Manila Hospital to Toledo Hospital. No, St. Vincent Hospital. And he died St. Vincent Hospital.
What did he die of?
Well, they put a leukemia. That he died for leukemia. But he died for everything went out. First his kidneys, first his liver, and then he was shaking. Then they put blood in him, and he was not good.
How long was he sick then?
A week. That's all a week. But
How old were the youngest kids when he died?
Vicky went out. Oh, Vicky got married last year. Yeah, Vicky was out with Vicky. She went in a home before he
that was about 72.
Vicky got married in 73.
I was 27, and Vicki was
22.
23. 22, yeah. 22 probably, because she was
Okay.
22,
So how old was your husband then?
He was 70, 78,
76.
76.
Okay. So that was about 20 years ago then.
Yeah, it was 20 years.
And how old are you now?
85. And I'm still here.
Are you glad?
Yeah, in a way, I'm enjoying my kids. I feel sorry for his father that he had a long time. Then, I had to move from the house. because I couldn't take care. They were starting building here, and one day I was in a senior citizen, I put in my name, just for the heck. I don't think I was going to come here. She said, well, everybody was writing a name. So when they built here, they called me. I was the first one. And they called me and I said, I want a townhouse. So first they built the high rise, and then they built the townhouse. So when it was ready here, I was ready to move because of my house, I don't want to live alone. Sunday, I sold my house, Saturday, and Sunday I moved here. And I pay a couple months here, moving here. I pay the rent. And I've been here 12 years.
Wow.
How did Pa come to Monroe?
Pa used to live, when they come from out of the country, he went to St. Louis, Missouri, because and he was working on a track, a railroad track. So from railroad track to St. Louis, they switched him in Michigan, and he was working on the railroad. When they built the bridge, in Winchester Bridge, he helped to build the bridge with the boat to put it, cement. And he helped there. Then they opened, Consolidate, and they introduced him over there, and he really liked it, and he stayed there. But then one time they was on strike, Consolidate. I don't know if maybe you read it, long time ago. So he went to work on
Green?
the quarry.
Off the corner. Grantstone?
Yeah, to the quarry. He worked at the quarry too. And then from the quarry he went to Nickelfitz in the garden.
Elgin.
Nickelfitz, whatever.
When you came over here, I assume you couldn't speak any English.
No, I went to school. I want to learn it, to read it, to write it more. Because today I read it, but I can't write it. Till today, I never learned it. But then I got pregnant with Joe, and I feel funny, ashamed to go to school, and I quit.
Okay.
I didn't go to, I was going to linguist school. Night school or whatever.
Night school.
But one time, and then when I was older, I wanted to learn it again, and I went to the academy, to school. But they was learning different things. I don't want to learn those things. I want to learn how to read, to write it. So I quit again, and I quit.
Were there large numbers of people then who were learning how to speak English? And
Well, just ourselves and some, just to talk to each other. I don't know how to learn really, because I didn't know nothing. We had an Italian store. We go over there, and it was Italian, and we talk, Italian.
But you taught yourself how to speak English.
Yeah, and and every time I see the trailer, and I see the sign and I read it myself. That's what I learned myself. I know really real good, but I understand much more. I never had interpreter to go to the doctor, things like that.
you did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Well, I did my best.
This will be a nice memory for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. Okay,
Addendum.
tell us about staying at Ellis Island.
Yeah, when I come from the ship, they won't give me to my husband. They put me in a island, and I didn't know nobody. They give you a pillow and a blanket, and you go in the bunk bed to sleep. And then in the morning, they give you a dish to go and get your food, and you sit on the bench, and you're lost. You feel.
Were there a lot of people there
Oh
like
yeah,
you?
A lot of people from a lot of country. They was all there. They waited for the relation to come and get it. Yeah, there was a lot of people, but there was a small bill, you know, and we was there like a bunch there.
Crowded.
Yeah, all sit on the benches. Now,
You think maybe you made a bad mistake, or maybe you should have gone back
well,
on the
but I
walk?
didn't want to go back though.
What kind of food do they serve you? Just a soup or
Well,
kind of like oatmeal?
yeah, like a soldier food. Putting everything on a dish, you know, and hot meal and coffee.
I admire that.
Yeah, tell us, excuse me, a little bit more about as your life as a little girl, like fixing the food and all that.
Oh, when I started cooking,
Yeah, back in
What?
Frisco.
I didn't know how to cook. Because I know my grandmother used to cook in Italy. And over there, it's not like here that you cook. If you had a spaghetti, it's all you had, a spaghetti. If you had a fish, you had a fish. And when I come over here, my husband used to cook, and I learned from him. Because my husband, he had a job that he helped my father cooking meal for the wedding. They was carrying a wedding. So he know how to cook. And that's what I learned it from him.
What was your mother and father's name then?
My mother was Josephine. My father was Agostino. Sole, S-O-E.
And your mother's maiden name?
Abramo.
And then your grandparents' names?
My grandparents, one was Pietro Abramo, my grandfather. And my grandma was Antonina Chingali.
And then what your father got married again?
Yeah. Well, then when you know, my father, you know, wanted to send them there, you know, to get married, he didn't write to him. One day, my friends got an invitation that Sol Agostino was going to get married. Not me,
Now you.
my friend. And that's what I find out that my father got married. Never talk about it, never. And, no, excuse me, before that, after that, I was pregnant with Joe. Grandpa was here in St. Louis. All of a sudden, I see my father behind the door. He came from St. Louis. That he quit over there and come here and stay here. Somebody bet him that he won't stay a year here. So he bet some money. So my father, he went fishing with my husband. He went to work with Consolidate. And he stayed with me. I fed him. I washed his clothes. He never gave me any money. One time he gave me $3 to buy a sack of flour. My father was no good. I don't know, maybe it was whatever. And then a year after that, a few days after the year, he went back to St. Louis to win the bet with a guy. But he stayed here.
So when did you see your father again? And I mean,
When-
you know, when did you
after
become
that.
friends? And,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Well, then I heard that you got married. I never heard what your kids had it. One time I don't know, really. And Vicky, she was older. And I don't know, really. So we went to see St. Louis. I think I went by myself at the time. Yeah, I
do you
had a
remember
youth.
when the first time? That was the first time you went there.
Yeah, I had a young
And
little
how old
girl.
was I? I
He
remember.
was about 3 or 4 years old.
And Vicky?
No, Vicky wasn't
Oh,
in
just
shooting,
me.
but yeah, he was. So he wasn't even 4 years old.
So then you have two sisters and a brother.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I had a family over there.
Mm-hmm.
My stepmother was a nice lady. She treated me really good, and I treated her the same. But my father, he was all time, you know, I don't know, like a stranger. So it was going on, once in a while there. Then the kids, they drive us over there. And, really good. Then when my stepmother died, he left my father alone. And my father, first he was in the hospital, then he was over in Becky, and Becky took care of, but she couldn't take care of. Then he went back to the hospital. He didn't live too long. And that's the time that I saw him alive. I said, well, goodbye. You're not going to see me again, he said. You're going to come here when I'm dead.
How old was he when he died?
He was over 90. He died old. But he was good, really. He treated me bad, his wife, his second wife too. And the kids, they could tell the story. But
And when you left, when you were 15, you had a 12-year-old brother that stayed there. Whatever happened with him?
well, he's supposed to come over here. See, my husband, he was going to send the money to come here, but couldn't come over
Did you
here.
ever see him?
So my
again?
father, when my father was here, and he left, I said, remember Raphael? He's over there all alone. He was all alone. Then he was a big, he was in the Navy. He was a young guy, a young man. I said, yeah. She said, I'll send it for him here, and he do like you did. You kick it in my face, and you left me alone. See, he had the courage to tell me that. He was that way. I couldn't go with him and be with my husband, He-
It was your husband who paid your way
Yeah.
over here, not him.
And he sent me all the paper and everything. So, and he told me that. Then when he was dying, he told me, he said, you're not going to see me anymore. He said, you're going to come here when I'm dead. That's what that's what happened. Because a few days after they found him dead. He died in the
And
hospital.
you saw your brother again when you went back to Italy.
Yeah, after how old he was?
It was in 1983 you went.
He was still working. I mean, he was good. My brother, he treated me really good. He was a nice guy. He was a bricklayer. Built a house, building in our house, big one. He was really strict about, and the food that I put on the table when I was there. And my sister-in-law too, my husband and sister, we used to go over there lunch and dinner and over my brother, sleep over my brother. 6 months is there. And my husband go fishing every day. And my nephew, the barber, I had a nephew barber. And the barber was in the front and we was in the back, living in the back. Just the one bigger room. And they had three boys sleep, husband and wife, and we are near the bed there. And just a petition was there, was in the back of the shop. But we had everything. We had a big, nice kitchen. Now, like here, I say, they had a stove, refrigerator, a washing machine at the time. 63, it was 1963 when I went. And my brother used to make the coffee in the morning. Over there is this much milk and this much coffee. And he put in the pot, make all for everybody. The milkman, they come outside to bring the milk. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he hear the milkman come out. He get up and get the milk and bring them in the house because somebody else could steal it.
Sure.
And then before he go to work, he figures the milk and coffee. And when we get up
Nice.
You said your father was kind of distant with you. Was he that way with his other kids that he had?
He don't, no,
afterwards?
he don't treat them good like he wasn't told he died like that.
Mm.
He was rude, like, you know. If he had to tell him something that he did. He didn't like us to play cards neither. He was against the gambling. He was against the cards.